Jessica, that's you, right? It's me, Michael. After a lot of effort, I was promoted from the branch office to headquarters. Among my new colleagues was a woman I'd never been able to forget for 13 years. I chased after her and called out from behind, "Michael." When she turned around, she was even more beautiful than before. At that time, at a company-sponsored barbecue, Jessica and I ended up alone by chance. "Look, Michael." Suddenly, Jessica rolled up her pants all the way to her ankles. "What the?" Ignoring my startled reaction, she looked at me with serious eyes. Then she revealed a big secret to me. "Michael, you know what? I want us to break up." That sudden breakup came when we had just started dating. It had been less than a month since I started dating her. My name is Michael. This all happened during my freshman year of high school. Back then, I was just an ordinary guy attending a local public high school. My grades were average, and in a table tennis club, I was just a newbie not yet allowed to play in matches. In terms of looks, I was so plain it was hard to find any distinct features. In other words, I had nothing that can interest her, and yet, she said she liked me. "I like you, Michael. Would you go out with me?" At the moment the blushing, bashful girl, Jessica, confessed her feelings to me. I inadvertently looked behind her. "What are you doing?" Well, I thought maybe this was a prank or something. I half expected other students to jump out as soon as I replied to her confession. When I explained this, Jessica made a slightly annoyed face. "After all the courage I mustered to confess, you thought it was just a prank. But you know, I think most guys would be skeptical if someone like you would confess to someone like me." Flustered and stumbling over my words, I managed to say, "You were beautiful even when you were angry," as I was completely taken by her. Jessica was older and the manager of the table tennis club. She was so pretty that even other students on the train would rave about how incredibly cute. She was a well-known beauty both inside and outside the school. Rumors had it she'd even been scouted by a talent agency, or so the story went. For someone like me, she was truly out of my league. So being confessed to by her was unthinkable. It was something I wouldn't even believe if my future self told me. It would have been more believable if someone had said the world is ending tomorrow. That's how much of a shock it was for 15-year-old me. So, what's your answer? My answer. Yes, your response to my confession. Are we dating or not? Honestly, the fact that we were club mates and she was my senior made it hard to say no. While I did admire her, if you asked whether I liked her that way. With those mixed feelings, I told Jessica, "I'll go out with you." But then, the very next moment, "That's great. I'm so happy, thank you. Let's start over. Please take care of me, Michael." As she slowly smiled like a blooming flower and called my name again, I felt a tight squeeze in my heart, a sensation I had never experienced before. Maybe at that moment, I fell in love. Otherwise, I wouldn't still be hung up on being dumped, even after more than 10 years. "I want us to break up." Those words were dropped on me just a few days before summer break began. What? I don't know, I just thought dating a guy would be more thrilling. But I don't feel that way with you, Michael. Jessica explained why she wanted to break up with me in a calm tone. My stunned silence wasn't just because of the unexpected breakup. It was because just the day before, we had talked about going on a date a little farther away during the summer break. So, were you too busy during the summer break? I wondered if I had gotten too excited on my own, maybe coming off as childish. Would she have stayed disappointed if I had suggested a more mature date plan? I had never racked my brain so hard before or after that moment. Do you hate the beach? Maybe it was too cliché. Yes, that's right. I hate the beach. With that blunt statement, Jessica walked away from me. Soon after, she quit as a club manager, and I graduated from high school without seeing her again. 13 years passed. Now 28, I was living a very successful life. Michael, would you like to work at the headquarters starting next year? What? When my boss proposed this, I mentally punched the air in celebration. I had been working in the planning department of a major company's branch office. Hoping to one day work at the headquarters, I had dedicated myself to my job, and my projects were succeeding one after another. And finally, the time had come to realize my dream. I think your skills will definitely be useful at the headquarters. I'd like to recommend you. What do you say? Thank you so much. Please let me go, by all means. And so, I was set to work at the longed-for headquarters the following year. Little did I know, this promotion would lead to an unexpected reunion. At that time, I was completely elated that my dream had come true. From today on, I will be in your care. My name is Michael. I will do my best, so please guide me. On the first day of the new fiscal year, as I greeted my new superiors and colleagues at the headquarters, I was suddenly at a loss for words. Michael, you okay there, buddy? The department head next to me clapped me on the shoulder, snapping me back to reality. Seeing my confused state, everyone wondered what was wrong, except for one person. Seeing that person, I was utterly speechless. Sorry, I guess I was a little nervous. I totally blanked on my greeting. Come on, get it together, will you? I'm such a klutz. Please take me under your wing. Your greeting is too innovative, kiddo. The exchange with the manager, reminiscent of a comedy sketch, had the office wrapped in laughter. Well, that's settled then. Feeling relieved, I took a glance over my colleagues' faces, and there she was, Jessica, not laughing at all, but rather staring with her eyes wide open. Wait a minute. It's me, Michael. After the greetings ended and the morning assembly was dismissed, I chased after one of the female employees as everyone headed back to their desks. You do remember me, don't you? I mean, I did just introduce myself earlier. At that moment, her surprised eyes had widened. That's when I became certain of it. She was the woman I knew well. Long time no see. Have you been well? The woman, Jessica, who had been briskly walking ahead of me, suddenly stopped in her tracks. Then she turned around, her long hair flowing with emotion. Even a fleeting gesture like that was enough to captivate me. She was as beautiful as ever, if not more so now than she was 13 years ago. You're not actually Michael, are you? Yes, Jessica. What a twist of fate. At the main office I had always dreamed of and strived for, there she was, a woman I had once been in love with. It was a brief fling, but she was still my unforgettable first love. That senior from back then, Jessica, was here working as a senior colleague. It's been a while. I heard from the manager that a very capable person was transferring from the branch office. Oh, no, that's not me. You're the one, Jessica. Even after she had unilaterally broken things off, I had still heard rumors about her. Not only was she famously beautiful inside and outside of school, but her grades were also top-notch. And she had been the first from our school to get into a prestigious state university. I barely made it into a local college myself. You've always been amazing. Truth be told, I had once aspired to attend the same university as she did. Even when people around me said it was impossible or hopeless, I thought that if I did, she would see me in a new light. In the end, it never happened, and I had resigned myself to the belief that I would never see her again. Honestly, I'm happy we met again. I am. Sorry, but I really need to get back to work. Jessica stopped me and turned her back to me, and as she started walking again, she told me to follow. Since you are here, I might as well give you a brief rundown of the job. Come this way, Michael. Yes. Got it. Her tone seemed to put distance between us, and it made me feel a bit sad. I was reminded that I still harbored feelings for her, and so I found myself in the unexpected situation of working in the same place as my ex. Distracted by this, coupled with the pressure of working at the head office, I kept messing up at work. Days of feeling inadequate and disillusioned with the gap between ideals and reality continued. And then, as if to rub salt in the wound, a rumor reached my ears. Look, there's the Ethan and Jessica again. They're such a good match. I overheard whispers as I watched Jessica and her colleagues conversing at close range. Although it pained me, I couldn't deny the good match comment. Anyone could see that she deserved someone like him. And that man was Ethan, the manager. It was exceptional for someone his age, just 30, to be in a managerial position at this company. He was also an alumnus of the same university as Jessica, a true elite. Plus, he was a handsome guy with a fresh look, hugely popular among the female staff. Finding a flaw in him seemed more challenging than anything. And rumors had it that Ethan, just as accomplished and renowned as Jessica, was dating her with marriage in mind. Such rumors were rife in my department. A fiancé planning to marry, Of course, she'd be shocked if an ex transferred in and would want to keep her distance. Understanding her behavior on the day we reunited only made me feel worse. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't surpass someone like Ethan. The possibility of Jessica ever seeing me again had completely vanished. Michael. Yes. Michael, you've stopped working. Yes. Sorry, Jessica. Are you that surprised? Honestly, how out of it were you? Despite her stern words, there was a smile on her lips. Before I knew it, Jessica had appeared behind me. What's wrong? You don't seem to be getting your work done. I'm sorry. Despite the awkwardness, Jessica sometimes showed concern for me like this. That kindness was a trait of the Jessica I remembered from before. Everyone makes mistakes. Especially when you are new to the job, it's even more likely. Don't be too hard on yourself. Thank you. She probably didn't realize that she was half the reason for my predicament. As I managed a wry smile, Jessica brought up something unexpected. Michael, why don't you give that project from the other day another shot? Wait, you mean that one? Yes, that one. It was a project proposal I had presented at a recent meeting, which was unfortunately rejected. I had confidence in it, but when it came time to present, it was met with a unanimous thumbs down. It was a bitter memory that reminded me of my lack of skill. You're joking, right? Even you said it needed a lot of revisions. But I also said your idea was interesting. Have you tried revising it since then? Well, as I hesitated, Jessica let out a deep sigh. She must be completely disappointed in me now. Feeling as if everything had turned dark, I looked down, avoiding her gaze. But then, oh, come on. Why didn't you just say something? What? I looked up, not expecting her words. Jessica looked at me kindly, with an apologetic expression. I'm sorry about the past. After what happened, I can understand if you find it hard to rely on me. But now, I'm your senior at work. I just want to help a colleague. Will you let me? Jessica. I had confessed to her once, only to be swiftly and unilaterally dumped by her, and I remembered resenting her for being so selfish. But the moment she apologized, strangely, I felt lighter, and the bad memories were replaced by the good times we had shared. We used to study together after school. Thanks to you, I even started to like math. I was also teaching someone for the first time, so to be honest, I wasn't very confident. No way, you were so clear. I thought you could be a teacher or something. You've always been good at giving compliments, even back then. For the first time since we had reconnected, we looked at each other and laughed. As we continued to work together, the awkwardness melted away, and we began to exchange words with smiles on our faces. Finally, I got used to the new workplace, and my proposals started to get approved here and there. I realized that the feelings I thought I had given up on were growing inside me again. I still liked Jessica, after all. So it hurt to see her with Ethan. He was such a perfectly fitting and faultless man. Every time I saw them together, I was reminded painfully that there was no room for me. Me and Jessica. We're not dating. Ethan approached me in the hallway where I was taking a break, dismissing the rumors about him and Jessica with a bright smile. Is that so? Yeah. Seriously. Who started that rumor? Even his expression while drinking a can of coffee seemed like something out of a TV scene. He just carried himself with such a presence. Realizing the difference in class between him and me, I inwardly breathed a sigh of relief. Sorry, you two just seemed like such a perfect match. We thought it was true for sure. A perfect match, huh? You think so too, Michael? Yes, absolutely. Both of you are so accomplished, and you make a handsome couple. Then, Ethan looked straight into my eyes. His well-crafted face came so close, it made me involuntarily nervous, even though he was the same sex. Ethan then suddenly flashed a strange smile at me. Give it up, Jessica. You like her, don't you? It's obvious when you watch. That's. Watching me fluster, Ethan grinned even wider. Was this the kind of guy who would laugh like that? His usually refreshing and sincere image seemed somewhat different. At that moment, when I felt a slight sense of incongruity, it happened. Do you still like her even after knowing her secret? He whispered in my ear, as if he was sharing a juicy piece of gossip. Her secret. You don't know. Well, that explains it. You weren't that close after all, even though you said you dated. What? How did Ethan know that we had dated? I was stunned, and Ethan, grinning, told me. I heard it from Jessica. Oh, but don't tell anyone about this, Michael. It'd be a problem if people got the wrong idea about our relationship. Ethan, you and Jessica, if they weren't dating, then what was their relationship? Just as I was about to ask, cautiously. Michael, there you are. I've been looking for you. Jessica had spotted me from the end of the hallway and was coming towards me. But when she saw Ethan next to me, she stopped dead in her tracks. No, Jessica. I was just having a chat with him. About a certain secret you're keeping. At the same time as Ethan's words, Jessica's face turned pale. She rushed over nervously and suddenly grabbed my wrist firmly. What? We have a meeting with a client soon. Let's go. But the meeting isn't until this afternoon. Let's go. Jessica pulled me along without a word. She only let go of my wrist after we burst through the entrance and stepped outside the company. Sorry. That must have hurt. No, it's okay. But you look pale. What's wrong? I'm fine, really. You don't look fine at all. Let's go back inside the company, I suggested, reaching out to Jessica's shoulder. But for some reason, she flinched and backed away, creating a distance between us. Are you avoiding Ethan? Her eyes wide open, and the earlier mention of a secret. Could it be? I confronted Jessica with the possibility that had just crossed my mind. You're not being blackmailed by Ethan, are you? At that moment, all expression vanished from Jessica's face. Even if it's true, it's none of your business. What? Don't get me wrong. We are not lovers or anything right now. You don't have any right to step into my private life, so please leave me alone. Her tone, while she spoke so matter-of-factly, was exactly like the Jessica who had broken up with me 13 years ago. But more than that, the part about leave me alone really got to me. If we're not lovers, am I not allowed to worry? If you're in trouble, is it wrong for just a colleague to want to help out? That's what I'm telling you. It's none of your business. It was the first time I'd ever seen Jessica raise her voice. Watching me, stunned, she quickly came back to herself and whispered a small "I'm sorry. I'll go to the meeting alone. I'll come with you. It's both of our jobs. Just wait, I'll get ready in a flash." I left Jessica there and ran back into the company. I had to keep it together, or I felt like I might just crumble and become unable to move. It was that big of a shock, to be clearly rejected by the woman I had feelings for. From that day on, Jessica and I reverted back to an awkward relationship. We continued to work together, exchanging only the bare minimum of words. The distance between us was so obvious that people around us started whispering, "Did something happen?" And so we spent our days, until about 2 months had passed. That's when I ended up at a barbecue with Jessica, despite our strained relationship. Hey, looks like your glass is empty. Why don't you pour something in it?" Yes. I don't know what happened, but take this chance to make up, okay? Yes. Prompted by Robert, who was trying to be considerate, I took a bottle of tea over to where he pointed. While pouring the tea, I awkwardly started a conversation with her. Nice weather we're having, right? Yes, it is. Would you have preferred a beer? Sorry, I wasn't thinking. I can't drink alcohol. Yes, that's right. This spa is a vast campground surrounded by forest. Today, the company organized a barbecue party with the goal of deepening camaraderie among employees. Each department is huddled around their grills, and the planning department is already lively with drinks in hand. Except for the area around Jessica and me. The view is really nice, isn't it? Amazing. Yes, it is. And the weather's great too. Walking through the forest on a day like this, it's got to be cool and just perfect. During this season, bears tend to come out in the forest. Oh, really? That's scary. Awkward silences kept creeping in, and I would hastily throw out another topic to dispel them. But each attempt fizzled out, leading to yet another uneasy silence. Eventually, I ran out of conversation topics. Looks like Robert's plate is empty. I'll just go and... It was a pathetic excuse, but I escaped. Leaving Jessica behind, I headed back to where the planning department was gathered. That's what I didn't notice. Sometime along the way, Jessica had disappeared from sight. As the barbecue reached its midpoint, the word spread among my colleagues. Jessica's gone. Everyone assumed she was with someone else, and it seems no one had spoken with her for the last hour or so. We searched possible places she could be, the campground's kitchen area, the restrooms, even other departments' barbecue spots. But Jessica was nowhere to be found. Strange, the only place we hadn't checked is. I scanned the area and shivered with a sudden chill. Could it be that Jessica went into the forest she herself said was home to bears this time of year? I'll go check, just in case. Impulsively, I plunged into the forest alone. Robert and my colleagues were shouting something, but I couldn't hear them. If something happened to Jessica, just the thought made my heart pound so loud I could hear it. Jessica, Jessica, are you there, Jessica? It was my fault for leaving her alone. If only I had stayed with her. Awkwardness be damned. Full of regret, I pushed through the forest. Then, what? What fell right in front of me was Jessica's smartphone. When I picked it up, I felt a bad feeling and started sweating even though it was cool. Did something really happen? Jessica. Losing myself, I started running. While almost falling over and over again, I delved into the depths of the forest with abandon. Then, for the 10th time, I shouted Jessica's name. Wait. Please, be quiet. A rushed, hushed voice reached my ears from nearby. Jessica. I strained to listen. It came from behind a particularly large tree. There, Jessica was sitting as if hiding. Jessica. What are you doing? If a bear comes, we'll be in trouble. Don't shout, come here. Relief washed over me, and as Jessica gestured for me to come quickly, I tucked myself behind the tree with her. That's when I blurted out loud again. What happened to you? Keep your voice down, Michael. Your pants are all muddy. What on earth happened? I whispered, pointing it out, and Jessica averted her eyes. I just fell, that's all. But that didn't quite make sense. Her left leg was bent as if she was sitting cross-legged, while her right leg was stretched out straight. Did you hurt your right leg when you fell? I just twisted it a bit when I fell. It's nothing. Let me see. No, stop. When I reached out, Jessica reacted dramatically as if refusing, but then she tried to stand on her own. Yet she winced, ow, and leaned back against the tree. Is it your ankle? Looks like a sprain. Anyway, let me see. It's okay. It's not serious, really. Please. My raised voice made Jessica flinch. Then, as if resigning herself, she started to roll up her pant leg. But then, unexpectedly, she reached for the waistband. Hey, Michael, remember? Back in high school, I always wore longer skirts than the other girls. Weird, huh? No, not at all. It actually suited her dignified aura quite well. Her figure, swaying with the breeze, was something I often found myself admiring. But why bring this up now? As I looked puzzled, Jessica did something completely unexpected. She slid her pants down to her ankles. What? Look, Michael. What are you doing? Just show me your ankle, please, and put this on. I hastily took off my jacket and handed it to her as I turned away. She took it and let out a small laugh. You really hadn't changed at all from back then. Excuse me. Why didn't I believe it before? You would have been okay with it. You would have accepted me. It wouldn't have been such a big deal if we were together. Jessica. Look at me, Michael. Called by my name, I reflexively turned to face her. And then, my gaze was locked onto one thing. Jessica's slender, pale leg. The right thigh was marked with a large, rough scar. This is much better after surgery, you know. It used to be much worse. I couldn't show it to anyone. Does it still hurt? Not at all. It's been 20 years, after all. She said it nonchalantly, smiling at me. She told me it was a scar from a traffic accident when she was 9. Though she survived, the scar had become a complex, making her self-conscious about showing her legs in public. And that was the reason she broke up with me. The truth is, I never wanted anyone to see it. Especially not by you, Michael. While laughing, her expression gradually distorted. And finally, with tears rolling down, Jessica revealed the truth that I had not known. When you suggested we go to the beach, I suddenly got scared. Would people think it's weird if I wore a long skirt at the beach? What if I was asked why I wasn't wearing a swimsuit and had to show and explain about this scar? I just couldn't bring myself to trust you. Even if I showed you this scar, that you wouldn't change, that you wouldn't drift away from me thinking I'm gross, like other guys might. If I said I didn't want to go to the beach, you might have said, then let's go somewhere else. But that wouldn't be the end of it. As long as she continued dating me, her anxiety would always be there. The feeling of wanting to believe in me, and the feeling of doubt. I guess he's just like any other boys after all. Caught between the two, she couldn't sleep at all that night. And the next morning, I felt like it was now or never. I couldn't think of anything else. If I grew to like you even more, I was afraid I would start doubting myself more and more, and I would start to hate myself for it. Because I truly liked you. Yet, who would have thought we would end up working at the same company? Despite having broken up with me using cruel words, seeing me every day made her realize she couldn't lie about still liking me. And then, that day, the words of Ethan made her scared all over again. Scared that by revealing her secret, her scar, I would hate her for sure this time. So, I pushed you away again. I'm so sorry. With tears streaming down her face, Jessica, usually so composed, cried out like a child. Without thinking, I found myself holding her. Michael, then, it's my own fault for being dumped. What? It's because I didn't say I like you properly. Because I never clearly expressed my feelings. Back then, I didn't honestly express my feelings. I like you so much that I can't even begin to dislike you just a little bit. If I had conveyed them properly, you wouldn't have had to worry alone. I'm sorry, it might be too late to say this, but I liked you, Jessica. And now, I like you even more than I did back then. Even seeing that scar, my feelings for you haven't wavered a bit. At that moment, tears dropped from Jessica's eyes. I like you too, Michael. Wait a second, we'll talk about that later. She looked at me as I said this while looking away. Then, with a surprised face, Jessica looked where I pointed. Yikes. Blushing, she quickly pulled up her pants, and I offered my hand with a laugh. First, let's head back. Everyone's worried. Okay. Hesitantly and embarrassedly, Jessica took my hand. That's how I safely found her, and we were able to confirm our feelings for each other. Looks like the pain has subsided. That's good to hear, Jessica. Jess, it really seems like it was just a twist. So, you can put me down now, okay? No, we can't take any risks. Despite Jessica's shy reluctance, I carried her on my back all the way back to the campground, using the map on the phone. Bears, huh? Doesn't look like there were any. Seems so. It's really good it was just your misunderstanding. I was really scared, you know. Jessica had gone into the forest alone, overwhelmed by the stares. She planned to have a short walk to calm down but panicked when she heard rustling in the bushes, thinking there might be bears, and ran deeper into the forest. And along the way, she had dropped her phone. Jessica, you're safe, thank goodness. Our colleagues, relieved to see us, rushed over. Jessica explained the situation and apologized for the worry she caused. Then, during that moment, Jessica, you can't just go into the woods alone. How worried do you think I was? Ethan approached as if he had been very concerned about Jessica. Then he smiled at me, who was carrying her. Thanks for helping Jessica, Michael. I'll take it from here. Come here, he said, reaching out to Jessica. Looking at them, the female colleagues whispered, I knew it. From the outside, indeed, they looked like a perfect couple. But on the way back, I had heard everything. No, thank you. In an instant, Jessica brushed away Ethan's hand. The atmosphere froze as if it had turned to ice. Jessica, Ethan, I won't be pushed around by you any longer. Please handle your own work from now on. What? As Ethan stood dumbfounded, murmurs spread through the crowd. Everyone looked confused except for me. I was glaring at him alongside Jessica. The truth Jessica had told me was this. A few years ago, she and Ethan had dated for a brief time. When he was still a senior associate and had learned of her scar, he suddenly changed his attitude and wanted to break up. A woman with such a scar is not suitable for a man about to make his way up in the world, he said. And unbelievably, he had been blackmailing her. If you don't want your scar to be known around a company, help me with my work, he had told her. Then, he apparently threatened Jessica. If you don't want her injuries to be revealed at work, please help her with your work. Up until now, you have announced our projects under your own name. More than half of them were my own ideas. Every time, you told me, next time, let's use our joint name. I don't know. You must be confused because you had a scary experience in the forest, right? Who knows a serious person like you would make such a poo joke? It's not a joke. There's no point in threatening me anymore. Michael has accepted me, even with this scar. she stated firmly, and then smiled sweetly at me. Seeing this scene, Ethan's face contorted and he clicked his tongue in disgust. He was also quick to notice Jessica's feelings for me. On top of that, he threatened her, saying, "If you don't want him to treat you as a damaged item, then listen to what I have to say from now on." Ethan, noticing this, made a nasty clicking noise with his tongue. Lucky you, finding someone to take off your hands, a damaged good. If you can betray someone who took care of you, you better get along with that guy. I'll be doing my own thing from now on. Hey, everyone, listen up. Jessica." As he gathered everyone's attention, Ethan exposed Jessica's secret, that she had a terrible scar on her right leg. And with the shock on his colleagues' faces, he seemed to cheer up a bit. With a nasty grin, he insulted Jessica in front of everyone. "I thought I'd at least hone her work skills since she wouldn't be able to get married with such an ugly scar. It's all your fault, Jessica. Betraying me is why you end up being humiliated like this." He sneered, seemingly pleased with himself. But for a while, he didn't notice. Ethan suddenly realized that the atmosphere was vastly different from what he had anticipated. Wait, what? The gray air and everyone's cold stares. Ethan finally noticed and looked around. I was the first to address him. "You say you took care of her, but all you did was exploit Jessica, preying on her vulnerability. What did you say? Jessica didn't betray you. She chose to accept her scars, to move forward with her life. And I respect her for that." Michael, I counted each of Ethan's statements. Jessica's scars were neither dirty nor shameful. They were a proud testament to how she had overcome an accident and strived to live her life. Despite Jessica's competence, which had earned Ethan his current reputation, he was the true and great. And the notion that Jessica couldn't find a spouse was absurd because I'm here. If Jessica agrees, I'd want her to marry me right now. What are you saying? Startled, Jessica pummeled my back with her fists. Her face must be turning bright red by now. Just the thought of it made me feel so fond of her. Damn it. Frustrated, Ethan's face also turned bright red as he bit his lip. Then one after another, voices like a chorus of retribution followed. "So what if she has a scar? I have one too from appendicitis surgery. I'm not ashamed at all. How low can you get to use that as a secret, Ethan? I'm disappointed in you. The one who should be ashamed is not Jessica. It's you, Ethan." What? Ethan was likely not expecting to be denounced by his colleagues. Confused, he looked around frantically, his eyes darting from one disdainful face to another. Then the director approached silently and patted him on the shoulder. "Ethan, let's talk. I have a few things to discuss with you." "Oh yes, Robert." Turning pale, Ethan was led away from the campground by Robert. And they never returned. "So what happened between you two? Suddenly making up like that? I heard something about him wanting to marry her. Are Jessica and Michael getting married?" "No, that's not it. Marriage, well, that's still." While being bombarded with questions, Jessica and I enjoyed the resumed barbecue together. And in doing so, we deepened our relationship with our colleagues, just as the day had intended. On the way home, in the car, with me at the wheel and Jessica in the passenger seat, she suddenly said thank you. What? For standing up for me when my scar was ridiculed. For speaking out when I couldn't. It felt so liberating. Thank you for giving me the courage to break free from Ethan's control. I didn't do anything. Pretending to focus on driving, I answered without looking at her. The sight of her beaming face, freed from her long-standing worries, was so dazzling. She was too beautiful for me, and she was so shy that I couldn't even look at her directly. "Do you want to know why I fell for you?" "Yes, I'd like to know." Jessica giggled as I inadvertently turned to face her. She said it all started back in elementary school. At that time, I had just been discharged from the hospital. During rehab, I couldn't move my right leg properly, and I was ridiculed by my classmates for my strange walk. Going to school was unbearably painful. Even on the way home from school that day, Jessica's classmates followed her around, making fun of her. They then made fun of her when she lost her balance and fell. That's when it happened. A boy who happened to pass by offered his hand and said, "Are you okay?" He then confronted my classmates, saying, "Don't make fun of someone who's trying hard, even getting into a fight to protect me." "You probably don't remember, do you?" she said. looking straight at me with a smile. Me. I recognized you immediately when I saw you at the high school entrance ceremony. You had no memory of it, which kind of hurt. Because I've liked you for so many years. But that's why I fell for you. For being someone who naturally helps others without remembering each instance. Thank you for saving me back then. And I've liked you for a long time. With a smile as bright as the sun, Jessica said those words to me. Hey, Michael. Do you want to go to the beach next holiday? But, the beach. I actually love the beach, contrary to hating it. I still need a lot of courage to wear a swimsuit, but someday I want to be confident enough to do it. I want to start getting used to people's gaze, little by little, with you. Also, when we have kids, I want to take them to the beach. The last sentence made my face burn hot. I couldn't see it myself, but I must look so embarrassed because Jessica herself, with a flushed face, found herself saying, "It suddenly got hot, didn't it?" "Yes, it's warm. Shall we go to the beach then? Right now. Right now. It'll be cool, for sure." I changed the route and drove towards the beach. For all the times we couldn't do it in the past, I planned to take her to various places together. And if we were to become a family and grow, to do it all together, as I imagined that future. By the way, after Ethan confessed to the company about threatening Jessica and presenting her ideas as his own, he was demoted to start over as an ordinary employee. Bad news spread throughout the company, and he lost all the respect from his colleagues, starting again under quite harsh conditions. However, Jessica, who had been promoted to his former position, did not abandon him. The person who taught me how to create a plan was none other than Ethan. I'm grateful for that, and if he returns to his roots, I'm sure he can create good plans on his own. Inspired by Jessica, he seemed to start working hard earnestly. Undeterred by the cold reception around him, he sought advice on projects and spoke up actively in meetings. Jessica's gaze upon him was always warm and kind. That's why I still deeply adore her. And I've quietly resolved to support her so she can continue working as herself. Everyone probably has something they want to keep secret, something they can say even if they want to. I failed to tell the woman I had a crush on that I like you because I was too shy. If I had managed to say it, maybe we could have spent more time together. Now I regret not doing so. Now that we're together, I understand how important it is to express my feelings honestly. Because feelings kept inside won't be conveyed. They have to be put into words and shared. That's how I plan to share many more memories with my beloved Jessica.